Welcome to the Kind Heartfulness podcast, exploring the inner reaches of the heart and mind, brought to you by Rangchen Yeshigomde, Germany-Austria, and your host, Eric Solomon.
Welcome to the Kind Heartfulness podcast, and today we have an episode about death, dying, and caring for oneself and caring for others during this important transition. And interesting, when I've told some of my friends that we were going to do an episode on this, people often look away or otherwise seem uncomfortable, yet it's the most absolutely inevitable part of life. So I think it's important that we speak with a real expert. Her name's Kirsten Deleo. She's a longtime Buddhist practitioner, meditation teacher, and author of Present Through the End, a caring companion for accompanying the dying. This book is an important book, and Kirsten's going to join us today and talk to us about some of what's in it. Kirsten pioneered one of the first training programs in contemplative end-of-life care called Authentic Presence, and she's currently a key developer of Buddhist chaplaincy in Europe. It's a new program, which I'm also going to ask her some questions about. And Kirsten lives near Dzogchen Beara, a Buddhist Meditation Centre in the west of Ireland, where she teaches and also supports people faced with a terminal illness or loss. And during this episode, I'd like to talk to Kirsten not just about how to best support our loved ones as they go through this important transition, but ourselves, and to make this experience, because Kirsten has been with so many people during this time, how this can be something that in the light of death, we can learn to both nourish others and ourselves. So please join me in welcoming Kirsten Deleo to the Kind Heartfulness podcast. Kirsten Deleo, welcome to the Kind Heartfulness podcast.
Hi, Eric. It's so lovely to be on your podcast.
Yes, we're old friends. We haven't seen each other for a while, so this is a nice opportunity to catch up. Today's subject is death and dying, and I think you're one of the leading experts, both in palliative care, but also coming from a deep and rich understanding of the Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist in particular, perspective. So I think it's something that, as we all know, it's unavoidable. It will happen to us and to those around us. And maybe we could start today by exploring a little bit, what do we do when we have someone in our family or a loved one close to us who's passing? How can we help?
Maybe let me first start out with saying that being with dying is actually the way I experienced it. And so you introduced me as an expert, but I find it quite daunting.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's more like we have to keep that beginner's mind, because if you get into that expert mind, then it gets very narrow and constricted, and we get a tunnel vision, and we're trying to fix things, I find it quite helpful, also my own experience, that whenever I'm with somebody, I know this person might just have received a very, very difficult diagnosis, and you don't know which way it's going, and that's how most often, especially with cancer.
Yes.
And it's so rampant, I know, and to say, just to be really have an open mind and just be with that person, and not say, oh, this person has cancer and then something my relationship has changed, because that's a lot of pain is right there. The person is still a person, and this person, whether it's a family member, a friend, a Sangha member, they're the same person. So I not to forget that the person is still a person, and the relationship is still the same. So if I start to tiptoe around the person or trying to be extra careful, that makes it really, really painful, I think, for both of us, no? So the more natural I can be, and even I think the most common thing is like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yes.
I don't know what to say. I get all these years, I get so many calls or emails saying, oh, my mom was just diagnosed, or, what do I say now? And actually, just be yourself. And that sounds so simple, but just be yourself. You still have the same love and relationship and the kindness and the care. So never, ever forget that. I think that's kind of the common ground. What's the common ground we should still share? Just to stay with that. So I think that's for me the most helpful. I don't have to become another person. I don't have to become an expert, because that's where, we can get tripped up, or I have to do something special now. Maybe just being there and saying, oh, wow, I have no idea. It must, just to acknowledge it must be hard, or I'm just here. And give space.
Actually, maybe that's why you picked this beautiful title for your book, Present Through the End. I think that really resonates for me. We're saying this about just how can I be there? How can I just be me, present, and with the person, present with them? I think that's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Yeah, and we make it so complicated.
Yeah.
As human beings, we make it so complicated, and we think we have to do extra and have to already know before we get into a situation. And death, I think, was a whole, even after all these years, I feel like the more I can be just really be with it, what we train in spiritual practice, what we train in meditation practice, just to be with the present moment. And it's often the hardest thing, just to stay there right at the edge and hang out, literally, just to be there. And then something really magical happens, because then the person also feels, the other person feels seen and understood, and not, because people are, what I've seen with people, especially when they're just have been diagnosed with something, people come with all good ideas. Have you done this or that? Have you seen this expert? What about this diet? All the good, we come out of our own feeling of helplessness, right? And feeling inadequate. And out of this fear, kind of switching into this doing mode. But this offering of good advice coming up from deep helplessness it's actually not so helpful. Maybe just saying, well, this must be so hard. I don't know what to say. And how are you with all of this?
It seems to me, and just thinking back also, like I remember when my father passed away, I was in my early 30s, and he died unexpectedly young in his mid-50s. And so not only did he have, of course, his reaction and kind of deep sadness about the unexpected turn of events, but I had fear for him, what he was going through, definitely feelings of helplessness, and also my own kind of like it's not fair thing going on. And I just wonder, what advice would you have given to that Eric at the time? What would help me? Because part of my, you can say, the challenge, and I was aware of it at the time. Fortunately, I had both some Buddhist practice under my belt, but also a couple of close teacher friends who were able to help me. But what would you give? I was struggling with just not, spinning out, going, this is just way, way too much. What do I do? How could I manage that? It seems like there's two things going on. One, I have to be there for someone else, but also I need to remember to be there for me, right? So I can be there for someone else. Yeah. So how do I do that?
Yeah, exactly. This is the balance, right? This is the balance. You're kind of aware and mindful of your own inner landscape, which can be so many things, completely chaotic and spinning, as you said, spinning out of control. Or there are waves of sadness, anger, but also some people just feel plain numb.
Yes.
You're so in shock that you don't feel anything, and then you feel guilty because I should be feeling something, but you're so in, you don't even know how to respond, and then being with the other person and managing their emotional responses or whatever is going on for them, or anxiety and whatever it is. I think the first thing is like, before you even, whenever I know I'm going into a situation that might be challenging, and I think it's different if I see somebody I know really well, if it's really somebody I cherish and love, like, I see with you, with your father, when my mom died, was dying and diagnosed, I went through this as well. It's very different than somebody I support, and it's a more distant relationship. Mm. So just to take a moment for ourselves, just to have that breathing space. Somebody who's diagnosed with a terminal illness, we don't have an emergency situation, right? I don't have to rush. I can take a moment to collect myself and really take a deep breath, maybe sit quietly and collect myself, literally, just to let all the scattered aspects that are floating around, just to name them sometimes, just to name them and be aware of them, like, wow, okay. And allow things to settle a little bit. And if it's very, very strong, and if there's also often what can also happen, there's already grief mixed in. We go to the worst case scenario, what could happen, even though it hasn't happened, but we go there emotionally. And just to talk somebody who can just listen to us, So that's kind of often I am in that situation that people pick up the phone. So Kirsten, my mom just was diagnosed, what do I do? So have, this person, have somebody you can talk to, just to actually just share how you are. It's very simple, but we forget that, just to share how you are, just by naming it, somebody receiving it, you're a bit more free, there's a bit more space, right? And then you're ready, and maybe also before you go, and that's something we learn in our Buddhist practice and our spiritual practice, to really set our motivation really clearly, really clearly, like, okay, I want to, maybe something like simple, I really would like to be present for you now, to be of benefit, something as very simple, because the mind is very chaotic, as you said, in that moment, right? Okay, may I be really free of myself as much as possible and be there for the person, and listen and see how they are. And then this is really the practice where the meditation practice, for example, comes in very strongly, like being mindful and aware of my own inner, as I said, inner landscape.
Yes. How
I am, while extending myself and hold the other person's experience, So that's the balance.
So I hear you saying now two things, just to summarize. The first one is that it's good to have a friend you can talk to, or someone where you can acknowledge and say, I'm going through this and this is how I feel. And that sounds like really good advice. And the second thing I that really touched me was the setting intention. And then if you have a meditation practice, being able to bring that together with meditation. So I think that would probably make it even more iffy. That's really good. Is there anything else I ought to be?
Oh, yeah. So many things. But it's like, first thing, when it's fresh,
Yes.
When it's fresh, to keep it simple, not again to make it complicated.
Oh, yeah, keep it simple. Right? That's good too.
Keep it simple. And go back to the breath in your body, because what happens, we spin out and we go into this, overthinking things. Worst case scenario, we already get, oh, what do I do with a funeral? People, we go all kinds of weird things in our minds, and then makes it worse. So now just keep it simple. Okay, the person there's still the love they have that hasn't changed, or the connection, the warm-heartedness, the kindness, or all the good memories, they're all still there. And if it's a difficult relationship, especially maybe with a partner, or with our parents, can also that can stir up things, because all the dysfunction comes up when somebody's dying. It's not the greatest, but that's what happens. So it's like this, all the things we haven't said, or the hurts and grievances. But in fact, the first visit, the first call, the first time we see the person, just keep it, just be there. Don't overload, just be there and listen. And also recognize the person might be equally lost like you are. No, they're in complete shock, probably. Even so, they might, you think sometimes, oh, my parent is in their 80s or 90s, they should be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
But when it actually happens, it feels very different,
Mm-hmm.
And as a Buddhist, we think, one of the thoughts are we prepare for our own dying. And the Buddha woke up because he realized, oh, I will die too. That's such a catalyst, and it shakes you to the bone. So never ever to judge it. Oh, they should have known better, or they either should. Right?
Why are they so surprised, right?
Yeah, they should know. Either they're old, or you've been, practicing Buddhism and meditation for 40 years. What's your problem? But it's very different, And then as soon as we come back, how things should be. The person really will kind of clamp down because they can feel it. What I've also seen over the years, people actually more than what you say, however smart or wise it is, they actually feel you. They feel you. They feel you when you open the door, how you come in. They feel how you sit down, and they might be even more alert and aware and sensitive. So the more I can just drop all my baggage. Another, I mentioned meditation in order to clear our mind. Another beautiful compassion practice, is just imagine how it might be to be the other person. How may they feel? And I immediately, I get out of myself, right? I get out of myself. It's not about me. So it's about the other person, because being with somebody who's facing their death, however long away it is, or if it's imminent, it's about them. And so that's kind of really the deepest compassion practice. It's about them. So to shift from me to you. And to make that shift. So what do you need? Not what I need from this interaction, yeah?
Yes.
What do you need from this interaction? And that's a tricky thing. This is not always easy, especially if there are so many things unfinished business there, in that relationship.
Yeah, so what do we do with tricky relationships? I mean, is there what's the best advice you can give?
The best. There's so much.
Where's your magic wand?
Yeah, that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I think the more we can do in advance and ahead of time, before we know comes to dying, clear our relationships continuously. Yeah, if they're anger or whatever it is, what if that. If I see this person for the last time, if I see my father for the last time, or my mother, or I hang up the phone, is there anything I need to say or express? So that's a good practice, actually, to keep doing that. So also for myself, to keep doing that. Is there anything? And it doesn't always have to be the bad thing. How about expressing our love and affection?
Yes.
That's often maybe with parents, we...
Actually, it's interesting you say that, because I, through my teaching, of course, people confide sometimes in me about difficulties with passing of a loved one. People I can't remember a single time someone said to me, I wish I had rehashed that old argument one more time and got it sorted. But I've heard again and again, I should have said I love you more, or I should have said how much I appreciate you more. I think that's really interesting, isn't it? It's like maybe we don't need to clean up what maybe is an intractable problem even, but we can offer our love and offer our appreciation. I think it's really...
Yeah. And also forgiving ourselves,
Yes.
That's about the love, forgiveness, forgiving ourselves. Nobody is perfect.
Yes. How do you forgive yourself?
How do you forgive yourself? To being kind to ourselves, forgiveness. To know we all make mistakes. I make mistakes, and so I don't, I hope I don't go into an interaction in order to hurt the other person. It's kind of maybe it's kind of I wasn't aware of what I brought in, the heaviness or agenda. I think that the agenda dropped my agenda, how things should be, my own needs.
Yes.
And maybe frustration or impatience or so just to resolve that and to we have this practice of loving kindness, just to practice that. It's very profound when you actually do it at the bedside for yourself or the other person. Really wish ourselves well, wish the other person well, and it's not egoistical or narcissistic or it's really a kind of really tenderness comes, a really open-heartedness and gentleness comes with that. And if people can feel it, what I've seen of actually felt over the years, also more than words, is like how you look at the person, maybe a gentle touch, and just the understanding gaze. Yeah, I understand. It's just, I'm sorry.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. And just had a really good friend, and she died. And I know people can surprise you.
Yeah.
We put people in boxes, and as saying, they are like this, and they're always like this, and this is how they will die, right? And she had this long-term problem with her sister, many years, didn't talk to each other. It was really hard, and when they talked, they were just arguing and fighting and screaming, and of course she was always right. And you could, as a friend, I couldn't even get in there to say, well, have you ever considered her point of view, or maybe you have a thing in that as well, could you kind of maybe? And she's like, no, absolutely not, So when she was diagnosed, everything went really quickly within a few weeks. And what she discovered was love. With the diagnosis, the whole thing around her being right, that difficult relation with her sister, because she felt her sister was always preferred by her parents, and just completely fell away. And she was finally able to love. And who would have thought that would be possible, So sometimes when people get a diagnosis or know, okay, this is my last weeks or days or months, they wake up. They literally wake up. And so, do I really want to spend my time with that horrible emotion or not? No, I don't. And they changed overnight. And I've seen it with that one friend. And she made peace with her sister. And at the end, she said, that was the greatest accomplishment of my life, right? To let go of that, to really completely let go of it and be happy.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. And I had prepared, oh God, when she dies, it will be horrible. And this, it will be messy. No. So, yeah, we always default glass is half full, and we go, what's not working, but also let's be surprised. Let's be also the magic of it, kind of people rise up, people can grow.
Yes.
One of my teachers in end of life care said there is actually dying can be and often is the final growth in life, that people discover who they really are, their relationships. He can heal, they can extend forgiveness, they come back to their own spiritual practice, whatever that might be or look like. So it doesn't have to be dark and bleak and heavy.
Fortunately.
No, not always, it depends.
Yes.
It depends.
But it doesn't have to be. And
no, it doesn't.
What I'm getting from you is that we should be open or allow for that possibility, sort of. So I'm curious now, what can we do in ourselves now? Because I would say, like myself, I don't have anyone in my life right now that I can think of who's very close to me, who's going through the dying process. I mean, we're all going through the dying process from when we're born, but you understand what I mean. What can I do to now, maybe while I don't have the shock through my, what can I do now to prepare or so that when it happens, I'm really present?
Yeah.
Something I can do to prepare.
Yeah. It's interesting in our mind, isn't it? And maybe Eric, for you, it's the same. We always think death happens at the end of a long-lived life, right? Yes. A well-lived life.
Yes.
So, maybe, it always in the future.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like
even though I do a little bit of contemplation every morning.
Yes, and it doesn't
still. I don't.
But that's like, we try to negotiate, right? We try to make a deal.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Maybe one way, because I know this mind that tries to wiggle itself out of it so well. I think we all know it well.
Yes.
And when we kind of first actually aware, I'm actually will die too. So the Buddha taught us or showed us that was his biggest catalyst for not only for himself but for everyone to find a path out of suffering, in the end suffering and end dying and death. That's a wonderful example. This is a very powerful model or inspiration. What I find helpful is what I do every day to really remind myself that I will die, So when I do something, I put a lot of effort into it, like, okay, or I get upset about, for example, when I get upset about something, in the big picture, is it really worthwhile getting upset or frustrated? To have always a bigger picture. And I caught myself early on when I started working in hospice many, many years ago, that I always thought, if I die, if I die, not when, but if,
Yeah,
so,
right.
And so just to really to know this mind and say, when I die, so how would that feel like? How would it feel like I walk out of the door, or in the morning I make my bed? I always look around. If somebody comes in, when I've, I could die suddenly, right? Do they have everything? I have this I trained my mind in that way. Yeah. I look around, is there everything there? It's the little things, they're big things, or when I leave my husband, go somewhere, have I said everything? Have I said, I love you? Give me a kiss on the cheek, or something very simple things, that if it happens suddenly, I would be okay, and also, do I have in my practice, so every time I sit down or we sit down to practice is a preparation for death. Do I actually see it that way? Because we're training to let go. We surrender and let go of the breath and the next breath. And so to even that consideration, just have it in the back of my mind.
Yes.
Right? So death, we have in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, no, death is real. It comes without warning. This body will be a corpse. To just having that in the morning, as a reflection, when things get heavy, maybe, just to have it just have it there, you know. And in my sangha we have and maybe you have it too, we have a prayer list. We have the names of people every day, and we read them out of people who are either ill or struggling in a certain way, or people have died, and said, well, it will be me one day on this prayer list, you know. So just to getting my mind used to this idea, and also recognizing the resistance, really recognizing resistance, and just okay. But I don't find helpful to push too hard through resistance, because then it gets worse, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but just like this gentle drop, you know, a gentle drop of water can be powerful over many years. Just like keep at it, just to keep at it.
I like that metaphor, gentle drop of water. Like
it's just
and then you have after a while an ocean, right?
Yeah.
You keep doing the drop.
Exactly. So that personally has been helpful for me, just to have it, the awareness, the death awareness there, awareness of it. Yeah.
Maybe this would be a good time for me to ask you, I mean, how has this affected you, your work, both as a caregiver, but also as a Dharma practitioner? How does it inform your life?
Yeah. That's a big question, Eric. That's a big question. You know, for me, it was right at the start. So I met the Dharma and also became interested in end-of-life care, palliative care work, hospice work at the same time. So it goes hand in hand, like a marriage. It goes, and it still does to this day. And I feel my practice, my meditation practice, my Dharma practice, really helped me to remain sane and stable and clear, feel prepared for this work, and then also being at the bedside accompanying people made the Dharma practice real. Because I can kid myself, you know, it's kind of, oh, this is a lovely practice, I felt love, you know, but then, okay, how stable is my practice really? If this would be the last moment, how am I really prepared, you know? Is my hair really on fire? Do I really know what it means, you know? Yeah. So that really keeps, that kind of keeps myself on my toes and keeps it real and authentic. And then it's not romantic or sentimental. The kind of, I think that's because it has been going hand in hand for so many years. I couldn't imagine it being otherwise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And not becoming jaded as well, because what I can see, what I also notice over the years, there's a mindset, and I've seen it, recognizing when you're around a lot of people who are dying, or, you know, who are not well. We become jaded. It's them, it's not me. I'm bulletproof, you know. I can go home. So I'm at a safe distance, because the psyche, our mind, does this to a certain degree.
I think it must be also something quite traumatic to be at the side of, and again, and it's like it's not based on your schedule and how you feel and if you're ready.
Absolutely.
Right. So I can see how there might be a tendency to find ways to numb yourself against it. Yeah. And what I'm hearing you saying, I think is really good, is that that's something you're aware of, and that these are the things you do to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean this awareness deprives me of any joy or fun in life. Honestly, my friends who work in hospice are the most fun and life-loving people. I have the greatest sense of humor, wicked sense of humor, you know. So that's kind of, and really wicked. But yeah, this is but you know, sometimes it's the same when I've observed and witnessed with people when you, for example, when you get a diagnosis, it's not that you're dying 24/7. This is too much to cope with. You have a bit of an awareness, it comes in, you stay with it a little while, and then life goes on. And that happens to the very end. And this is how we actually learn and grow, this almost this oscillation. We can acknowledge to a certain degree how much strength we have. And then we also have to learn to drop it and enjoy life, and still do things and especially out in nature, doing what gives me great joy now. During the COVID, I swim all the year round now in the Irish Sea. It's
wow.
Without
do you use a wetsuit or do you just
without?
Oh my goodness, I'm impressed.
So I would have never been thought that's possible, but to do something that really brings you alive, that really, some others do something with children. You have to do something to release and let go and enjoy life. If you in this heavy duty mindset all the time, then it gets heavy duty, and then all the joy also goes. And we have to be really watching out for that as well, especially if for example, if anybody's listening, they're caring for a parent, and especially anybody who's a long-term caregiver, just to really, we have to mind ourselves, really, just to do the things you're enjoying still, however, in whatever small ways, this is very important. It's very important.
That sounds very important, and I think it's key to just keep finding where the places are you can have joy in your life. So now I want to ask you about your current work, because you're now doing an exciting project in Europe. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I think. So as I said, I swim in the Irish Sea, so I live in Ireland.
Yes. Actually, I was going to tell you after, but I'm going to tell you now. I noticed your English has changed just slightly. I think just a little bit of an Irish root. I've known Kirsten. I met her in San Francisco many years ago.
I guess
slightly different accent then. But anyway, so.
So I'm part here. Dzogchen Beara is at Tibetan Buddhist Centre, and so that's where I support people. We have a spiritual care center, and also I teach and hold meditation retreats.
So people can go there also.
You can go there. You can either just rent a cottage and just enjoy, or just come for retreat, short weekends, longer long retreats, so meditation or compassion, and it's open to the public. It's open to anybody. People can also do longer, very substantial retreats if you're a Buddhist practitioner. But it's open to anyone. So during COVID, when everything was locked down, I started to teach online as well, and I was invited by the European Buddhist Union to teach and by a group that is exploring chaplaincy in Europe. I was part of the chaplaincy work, Buddhist chaplaincy group around Harvard and Europa for many years. So when I came here, I was so happy to see there's something here now growing and emerging in Europe, because in every country here is very different. Some European countries have no Buddhist chaplaincy. Others, there are things like in UK or Netherlands. So now the European Buddhist Union was an umbrella organization for Buddhists in Europe. They made it their mission to create something for Buddhist practitioner to support them who would like to become spiritual caregivers, either for their fellow Buddhists, but for anyone. And of course, chaplaincy space is right now very Christian based, and so we don't have a standard yet for Buddhists. And so the idea was to create a course and a training program. So this September, we are starting our first, what you call, foundation in Buddhist chaplaincy and spiritual care. And there's an introduction to Buddhist chaplaincy. It's open. We call it pan-Buddhist. to Buddhists from all traditions. We wanted to make it sound European, so Pan-Buddhist, that sounded quite European. So for Buddhist practitioner from all traditions, and the core group is also we come from all traditions, which is very incredibly rich and joyful, and learning from each other, Theravadan, Vajrayana, and we have Maya Zen Buddhists as well. And so it's kind of to really be together and say, how can we serve? And we are all on the Buddhist path. How can we serve our fellow Dharma brothers and sisters and anybody who's suffering? And so the specific training is of spiritual care in prison, healthcare, and end-of-life care in these three main areas. So we found the Dharma University in Budapest called Dharma Gate. We offered through them, so it will be accredited, which is incredible. It's really so it's a 4-module course, goes about a year, but you can just take it as a modular approach, and it's hybrid, online and in person. Yeah, so that's starting this September.
How does if somebody's listening now and they're interested, how do they find out more about it?
I think the easiest area is to go to the website. The website is quite simple. It's europeanbuddhistchaplaincy.org, europeanbuddhistchaplaincy.org.
Great, thank you. Well, that sounds really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it in the future. And I really wish it the best possible fortune for flourishing. And
thank you.
Yeah, and I think this has been a wonderful conversation today. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you'll consider coming back sometime in the future. I personally really enjoy. I feel like I learned a couple things, so that's good for me at least, and I think most of our listeners did as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. If you have enjoyed today's podcast, we like to invite you to continue the journey into the heart of enlightened mind at gonde.eu.